Hey, what's going on, John and Brent?
Mo, what's up? Happy Friday.
Same to you. I literally just got off of an onboarding. I'm a little bit out of breath, but hopefully I'm here on time.
No, you're good. Catch your breath. Catch your breath.
Yeah, just trying to make sure we're set up and we're live on Facebook. Let's see how this is working. Okay, it looks good. Okay, let's close that. Make sure we're good to go. You guys ready to set up some automations for connectors or gators?
Heck yes. Should I be stationary for this or is driving around gonna be okay?
Well, I'm gonna ask you guys for your opinion on how you guys want this built out while I'm building it out. Because I'm not, I mean, I'm a connector, don't get me wrong, but it's not my sole, you know, business model. And so it's like those of you guys that focus on connecting or doing deals like for gators, as gators, it's like you do this, for a living. And so you have a certain process that you do things. And the goal here is to build it out and give it out to everybody who wants it, right? So we'll build it out once, and if it needs tweaking, of course, or it needs modifications, we can do another Zoom. But the goal is to make sure that it's good enough for everybody to use, right? If it's not, then we'll redo it, and make sure it's better or it's good enough. And so everyone's feedback is going to be, really helpful for that. So I've already created a brand new sub account. It's completely blank. And we're going to go through this together. And so, anybody who's watching this live, I do not have Facebook open in front of me for comments. If you would join the Zoom and give feedback, I would appreciate that. Let's see though. All right. Let me share my screen. So what we'll do first is kind of create a little flow chart for how this business works. And I'll go based off of, logical what works. And then you guys can tell me as well, um, if we would need to add anything to it, right? So instead of actually building a flowchart on something like micro or mirror board, we're just going to start with the pipelines. And we're going to name this connectors for now. And so to me, what comes to mind, if you're a connector or you're a gator, you have two things. Okay. Number one, you have the actual connection part of things, building relationships. And the second part of that, which will be a separate pipeline, will be, let's say if you're a gator, marketing deals, right? Or marketing um, yourself, that you're, let's say you have funds or you're a broker that can broker those funds. And if you're a connector, you probably have a bunch of different services you can offer as a connector, right? Or relationships that you can offer other people. And so we'll try to build this out in two different sections. So maybe I should create this as building relationships as the very first one. So we can kind of keep things separate on this aspect. So when you're building relationships with these people, there's multiple ways to, let's say, acquire, right? Or inquire with a person, right? It's either you met them face to face or on a phone call or through Facebook or something like a Discord or whatever. And so you reached out to them some way or another. And so now that's considered a lead, or let's say potential partner to connect with. And other methods are, let's say you scroll Facebook of, let's say, all of sub 2 or all of the Gator tribe or all of whatever community that you're in, and you try to search for all their emails or phone numbers just so you can kind of build a list. Okay. Um, Now, John, how do you build relationships? Let's take an example from you if you're not driving.
There we go. No, I'm not driving. No, not yet, at least. Um, so a lot of my outreach is through Facebook groups, specifically inside of the community, the sub two Facebook group. People are asking questions. People are looking for assistance. I know what I need through my other connections. So when somebody says, "Hey, I'm a wholesaler with deals," bam, that's who I'm going to talk to. Or like, "Hey, I got money to lend," that's who I'm going to talk to. And then there's also like the creative group and other Facebook groups. So primarily, my lead sources are going to be social media.
Okay. So you find someone you like on social media, what do you do next? You either A, reach out to them on Messenger or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you DM them, or let's say you reply to one of their comments with your contact information for them to reach out to you, right? That's one part. The problem is Facebook is a third party app and you can't keep yourself organized on there, right?
It's trash, yeah.
Yeah. So we need a way to keep ourselves organized in here. Okay. Um, so how do we want to mention this? Do we want to say that it's, a lead at this point because we actually haven't built a relationship with them? And let's call it maybe a new lead. Um, because at this stage, you don't even know if you're going to have a relationship with them, right?
Right.
Um, or maybe a cold lead, we can name it. Like how would you want to do it at this stage?
Yeah. Lead could be, um, now you're talking like, hey, I just noticed this person. I haven't actually spoken with them.
Yeah, you haven't spoken to them yet. You've only maybe tried reaching out or DMing or messaging, on one group on a group or whatever. But like you haven't actually spoken to them yet. Because like at this point, let's say you do want to get on a phone call with them. Well, you can get on
Mm-hmm.
the phone call through the CRM, like and just call them through the system. Like you don't have to share your personal cell phone number at that point. And things are still organized in the system. You could have call recordings as well if you needed to. And then let's say you texted them later on, it would all still be in the system.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Lead, lead, I think is good for that. Yeah.
okay. And Brent, uh, I'm assuming you're a connector as well, or Gator.
Not so much. I'm not, I don't know if I have great input, but basically I'm trying to understand how to set these up for other applications as well. So I thought I'd listen in.
All right, awesome. Well, if you see any input, just logically what you think would make sense, just we'd appreciate that feedback.
Hmm.
All right, so you find somebody, you reach out to them. Let's say maybe they reply back to you. Um, well, you probably want to set up some sort of appointment with them to get on an actual call, or let's say a Zoom or whatever your particular business model is. Um, And so at that point, let's say you have a new lead and then you get someone that replies to you, right? So maybe we should have some section for, let's say, a reply or a response. Let's go with that. When there is a response, we have schedule. Uh, I'm going to put meeting, but it could be a phone call. It could be anything, just for right this second. And we can always tweak it later. Hair, I see you're on here with us. Welcome. Um, so you have a new lead. whether you found them on Facebook, you found them at a meetup, you did whatever, right? You have a response that they reply back to you. It's engaging. They want to have a conversation with you. You schedule a meeting. Well, and we can also build automations where when you switch them in the pipeline to schedule a meeting, that it can automatically send them, let's say, a link to your calendar. Or we can keep it manual. I mean, it's up to you. Like, how would you want it, John? Do you want it automated?
Yeah, I think once you start talking to them, like that's an obvious like change.
Yeah. And so it's like we can have it where if we shifted an opportunity from, let's say, the response in the pipeline, and we shift it automatically to schedule meeting because we have their contact info, whether it's their phone number or their email, we can automatically shoot them instead of a Calendly link, we send them a built link or whatever calendar you named in the system. Okay, so we probably need to create a calendar in here meant for building relationships, and we'll do that a little bit later. So right now we have schedule meeting, but maybe we need to have after that, and let's say they booked a meeting, so we'll say meeting booked after that, so that we know, and this will be automated. So once you send them the link, if they do register through that, they'll automatically be moved to the meeting booked section so you can build that relationship. This section is after that is where you kind of determine who they are, like what type of investor, like why you're in that meeting. And so maybe we need to do something where we can vet that relationship. And that could mean that you're putting them in your system or assigning certain tags to them. For example, if they're a buyer, for example, if they're a wholesaler or a private money lender or gator or whatever they are, transactional coordinator. And so you vet that relationship because again, we're building this as a general relationship building, as a general connector system right now. But at the same time, let's say you were a gator, you would still technically use this because, well, they could be a wholesaler, they could be an investor, they could be a buyer, right? They could just be whatever, and you just built a relationship with them. And so at this stage, maybe it's like vet relationships and maybe tag them for what they are, for what they are, right? So once we know what they are, do we want some sort of follow-up system to let them know that, hey, I still remember you, whether that's 14, 30 days, 45 days later, like how would we want that to be? Hair, are you a gator or a connector since you're with us? No comment. Okay. What about you, John? What's your thoughts on that? Do you want follow-up of once you have a relationship, you made that connection to have some sort of follow-up every so often to say, hey, I still remember you, or some sort?
Yeah, I would say it needs to be a little bit more personalized, maybe like an invitation to a calendar event, as opposed to just like a splash, like, hey, I hope you're having a great day, or whatever automation silliness that people do. So yeah, quick answer is yes, but I think
Yeah,
it needs
like
to be
a very
personalized.
simple, let's say you tag them as a private money lender, right? Let's just use that as an example. Because you tag them, we can send a personalized message that say, hey man, I know we built a relationship last month or 2 weeks ago, whatever. And I understand that you're a private money lender looking to fund deals, but it takes that message based off that tag. and spins it into like a syntax at that point where it tailors that and says, I'm still looking for a deal at that point. I'll let you know when I have one, but I want to keep in touch. And so like that's very personalized for, let's say, a private money lender, but it doesn't seem like it's automated, right, in a way. And so that could be done. And the same thing would go for, let's say, if they were, a buyer or a wholesaler or whatever relationship that you have. So let's just say active relationship. And because they're an active, if let's say you vet them and you threw them in the active, it'll automatically follow up with auto follow up every, I don't know, we'll put 30 days for now and we can change it later if they're inside that section. So this will build the relationships. This is like the basic pipeline for building relationships. What's up? I see you got your camera on now. Okay. So building relationships is one thing, right? I think we still need another pipeline for, let's say you have a specific service, whether it's Gator funds or, brokerage funds or whatever it may be, that will, pretty much have its own pipeline. So the building relationship section will work in general for both connectors and gators. We might need to, I think, create the gators one different than a connector. I also think that connectors are going to be unique and they're probably going to have to still do some tweaking to their own based on what services a connector is providing. Hare, what's your thoughts? Since you're on here with us.
My bad, it's air, like heir to the throne. But I don't know. I do a little bit of connecting, but that's kind of underneath. So I was like, yeah, it would be nice to have this. So I was just kind of catching up and creating this because I never really did a pipeline. But schedule meeting, book, vet relationship, active relationship. I don't know. I can't really think of what would be next because I'm just super new in the whole thing. So I don't really got no 2 cents now. I could chime in later, maybe. I don't know.
Well, that's
I'm just
fine.
kind of
Like, again, this is not just to help for connectors and gators. It's for someone who wants to build a pipeline, who wants to learn automations, right? And so it's like, if you just want to learn, then this is the place to be, of course, because again, we're just thinking logically. We're breaking this down into a workflow or, some sort of flow chart that's understanding and that's logical. And then we can kind of course, deep dive into whatever niche that you want to deep dive into. And so if you have any questions as well for your specific business model, just ask away. I mean, it doesn't hurt to ask a question while you're in here, and I can just show you how to do it, because we're talking about automations and pipelines.
Cool deal. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Apparently I got a photographer in here with me. But okay. Let's see. So now that we got this, let's actually build out I'm going to go with a connector pipeline just because we don't have any gators in here right now at the moment. So we're going to go ahead and build out the connectors pipeline. And John, I'm going to need you for this because this is more specific to you as a connector. Once you build that relationship and you vet them and you specify what type of person they are or avatar they are, what do you do next with them?
So a lot of the times until, again, a lot of what I am doing is like analog. So I am looking and like trying to remember as much as possible. And if a deal comes along, whether it's like, hey, I'm looking for money, or hey, I have this deal, I'm looking for a buyer. I use Trello right now, have to go into there, type in, and kind of like filter down myself through that. If that makes sense.
Well, okay, let's say you have a relationship you built
Mhm.
and they reach out to you and say, hey, I need this service, whatever it may be, whether it's money, a deal, whatever it may be, right? And so it's like you now want a separate pipeline that says that they need something, right? And so maybe we can
Yep.
call this very first one attention, maybe because they reached out to you specifically for whatever service you can provide them. And so this will be like an attention. Okay. After that, of course, you need to maybe hop on a call to actually determine, well, what type of, I get it, you need money, but let's actually analyze and see what it is, right? And so maybe we can say this is analyze. I want to say deal, but it's not always a deal. And so analyze needs maybe in the case. Nah, it seems to general. Maybe analyze situation at that point. Again, we could change these along the way. But let's say you analyze the situation, and then next you want to schedule a call, because isn't that what you do when somebody asks for something with you? Like if they want something from you, do you not hop on a call with them or a Zoom?
Absolutely.
Okay. So again, schedule meeting, and then we have another booked meeting or meeting book, just so it moves along in the pipeline. Okay. And we might want to create a calendar to make sure it works for this, for specifically for the connectors and not the gators. So we have it separate. So now that we have meeting booked, and we can now determine everything that's going on with that particular situation. And so like analyzing the situation is what they told you initially when they reached out to you. But here's the thing. They might reach out to you through like messenger or through a message, text message or email. And so this would work. But what if they just call you directly and they say they need something? So this doesn't work, does it?
I would say not.
Yeah. So I don't think this works for it. It would work if, let's say, they text you or emailed you, but again, it wouldn't work for if you need to get on right away with them or they call you directly. So I think the attention would be either A, they called you, emailed you, text you, whatever, and then you might be able to, at that point in time, analyze the situation and fill in information in your notes section, like at this point in time. And then only the schedule meeting and meeting booked will be only used when you need to use it, right? So like maybe I just put here if applicable, right, for now, because this feature will automatically send them a calendar link, right? And the meeting booked will only activate if they, used your calendar link. And so this will kind of, only be used if need be, right? So we'll keep it like that for now. If we need to delete them later, we can delete them. But like for now, I think we need some sort of, if function. So let's go with that. And now, again, it depends on what's going on with the deal, right? Because if it's now, let's just say it's a wholesale transaction that needs EMD funds, right? And you're brokering with a gator. Now there's multiple parties involved. And so it gets a little bit hectic at that point. And so we kind of maybe need to figure out something that, again, might need to have its own pipeline based on that deal, right? So just thinking about this, notice how like in depth this ends up becoming. Like things move along the pipeline, right? But what happens if like we are no longer interested in let's say working or assisting on that deal? So maybe we might have a section that says maybe pass, right? And so if we say pass, what happens is it'll go back to the other pipeline for building relationships and make them an active person again in the pipeline to send them a reminder every 30 days saying, hey, we're still here for you. Versus if we have, you're doing the deal. So if you're doing the deal, maybe we name it, let's just put deal for now. Okay, we'll just call it a deal. Because at this point in time, you are a connector you need to get paid for your connecting. Okay. And so one of the biggest struggles for connectors right now is getting paid, right? And structuring that. And a lot of it's just, oh, I just connected you from so and so to so and so, and you're done, right? Like you're out of the picture. Once you connect them, you're done. But if somebody comes to you and says, hey, I need a private money lender, I know you're a connector, can you help me find a private money lender? And you're like, yeah, I can help you. Let's set up a JV agreement. Okay. And so at that point, it would be deal, right? And let's just save this for now. And we'll kind of make that as another pipeline. And then maybe we'll call this one deals. And this could work both for the gators, of course, and the connectors. But we'll probably just name this right now connectors to make it known what it is. Let me save that. Okay. So again, let's think about this. You have a deal, and we can say new deal in the pipeline because it automatically transfer from the other pipeline to this one. Okay. And this is all through automations. We'll have to build that out in the back end. Well, let's say you have a new deal. You're going to have to connect the dots, right? You're going to have to sign a JV agreement before you connect the dots. And so at this point, I think maybe JV is the most appropriate. And you might be like, oh, well, isn't that too soon? Well, they came to you to connect for something, right? You can't just be called a connector and not get paid for your work. Even if it's very, very small, it doesn't matter what it is. Okay. Again, other connectors might say something otherwise, like, oh, I don't want to charge them until, let's say, they come to me the second time. Okay, go work for free. But John, I need your input here. What, like, would you do a JV agreement, right, as somebody tells you they need something from you?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's usually how it happens with me.
Okay. All right. Okay, after you sign a JV agreement. So what we can do as well is we can create that template JV agreement in here. And this is a lot of advanced stuff we're going to get to. I don't think we're going to be able to finish it this time. I'll probably go to like 7:30 today, so another hour. But I think we probably want to do another one, maybe Monday or Tuesday. Maybe not wait till next Friday. We can do it, or hell this weekend. I don't care. Because the automations are going to be really high level to the point where if you shift the opportunity of that person into a JV agreement, I want them to receive a JV agreement automatically, instantly, through, let's say, our documents and templates. In order to do that, of course, there needs to be like a probably an open terms section, like additional terms that we can modify, so that before we actually switch it to JV agreement, those additional terms will pre-populate in that JV agreement. Because most JV agreements right now are pretty typical, especially the sub 2 ones and the creative finance ones. They're pretty general about real estate, but really where we put all of the actual terms is in the additional terms section. All right. John, when you're using JV agreements, are you using the traditional sub 2 one or just some regular general JV agreement for real estate?
Yeah, I'm using a sub 2 JV agreement. It's like 5 pages long because it spells out exactly like what I'm going to do and what they're going to do and compensation and all that. Yeah.
But most of the time you just leave it blank and put the additional terms in there, right?
Generally, yeah.
Yeah. So the additional terms is really the key of how you're getting paid out in whichever way. Whether it's at closing or escrow beforehand or whatever. So again, we'll have to tweak this, but right now I will keep this as auto, and then maybe make sure additional terms are filled out. And note, we don't even have these custom fields built for additional terms. So like what we're doing right now is just building the backbone right now of how it should be, and then we can build the automations later. Those that are watching. Jay, I see Jaden, I see you're in here with us. Are you a gator or a connector? Okay. Let's see.
I'm a gator.
You're a gator? Okay.
Okay.
That's awesome. So maybe we can get some of your perspective on how you do deals as a gator and tweak this to be better for your business.
I'm still fairly new on the gator stuff. I got in on the gator thing when Pace first initially rolled it out, but I didn't actually get the time that I needed to implement it. So I've kind of had to put it on the back burner. So most of what I'm doing is more on multifamily underwriting and trying to determine fund to funds.
Mhm.
So the gator's kind of been a back burner project for me, to be honest with you.
Well, the reality is there's 9,000 gators. There's not 9,000 deals out there, right? And unless you differentiate yourself in front of the audience of whatever community, right, they're not going to think of you any different than any other gator, right? And so
Right.
having systems to automatically follow up and build those relationships and retain those relationships while being able to market yourself as a gator is really important. So this is why we're doing this right now, because Built is meant for acquisition and disposition currently right now for real estate, including multifamily, but it's not really tailored to the connectors and the gators. And so this is why we're holding this live session, is to build this out that it would benefit you guys as gators or connectors. And then what we can do after this is we'll upload it into your system if you guys like it, you know.
Very cool.
Yeah. And so all the feedback we can get right now, of course, is, you know, really, really important, you know, because you guys are in those type of business models, right? Whereas me, I'm not much of a connector, or I mean, I am a gator, don't get me wrong. I did 35 deals last year alone, but like that's not my business model. And most of it was just referrals. You know, people just came to me because they just knew. It's like I didn't have a system built out, but like I can still give feedback as a gator, but I can't give too much feedback as a connector because I connect people and I don't care if I get anything. Like, let's go connect,
Right.
go have this relationship. I don't want to be dealing with all that additional paperwork. That's not my business model. My business model is luxury flips, right? And I like to stay in my field for certain things. And of course, this SaaS. So right now, let's get back into this. If you're a connector and you're doing a JV agreement with someone, this is where the point is where you're actually connecting the dots, right? And I'm just typing this in here for now, right? But like at this stage, this is where you actually connect the dots because you have your JV agreement signed. And maybe we need to do signed, and this will sign and move it along the pipeline by itself automatically, so you know before you actually connect the dots. And I'm calling it connect the dots right now because all you are is a connector and you're connecting the dots. You're not really like doing gator transaction at this moment, but you need to get paid. Okay. And so connect the dots at this point. Okay. We'll leave that as there. And now let's actually build out the gators. So deals, and I'll name this gators for now. And gators works for private money. It works for like, you know, transactional funding. It works for long-term or short-term funding. It doesn't matter. So again, we have a deal. Someone submits a deal. And so we'll name it new deal. You want to evaluate the deal as a gator, right? And you probably want to either A, pass on it, right? Or let's say if you don't pass on it. So if they do pass on it, then it goes back and follows up with them every 30 days. If we don't pass on it, that means we actually moving forward. So what happens when we move forward on that? We probably want to reach out. Okay. at this point because now we're interested. Okay. If we reach out, we probably are going to fund the deal, right? So maybe at this point in time, we might want to structure it as a broker because a lot of the gators are brokers instead of actual funders. Jaden, like let's use you as an example. Do you broker private money or do you fund deals? You're muted. You're muted, Jaden.
I've done a little of both, but primarily hoping to just kind of to fund them.
Okay, good. So let's structure this as if you're funding. I think if someone wants to be a broker, they can just restructure it on their own. Like that's a whole different business model. So you get a new deal in, Jaden, and then you evaluate that deal. You either pass on it or you decide to actually fund the deal, right? At that point. And so maybe you reach out and then you have, let's say, so let's reach out and then we have, let's say, JV agreement at this stage again. And then because there's a lot more than JV, there's a JV agreement and then promissory notes and there's, let's just call it paperwork for now. But we can have all those documents send out simultaneously, like the JV and the promissory note. But I'll just call it paperwork, and then I'll just say signed paperwork. And then, of course, we have title and escrow or whatever. If you're an attorney, I'll just call it escrow for now. Hey, Effie. Long time no see. All right, so now
Mo,
stop.
can I interrupt to ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, hold on one second. I have started working with it, and when it comes to connecting the domain, I'm not with GoDaddy or any of the ones that it's picking up right away easily. I'm with Wix.
Okay.
And I'm trying to figure out how to do this because Wix is my domain for fe-rei.com. So that's my email. That's where I want to put everything together. But the things I want to put together are different domains. So Jim Labella and I have one domain that I want underneath that one. I have with Rory De Silva, I have that domain and I want it underneath there. And then my co-living, which is not FE-REI, is going to be another entity. So how
So
can
you
I
want to
put
add 3 domains into built, right?
three only?
You're saying you have 3 domains and you want to add all 3 into built?
Yep. I'm going to
Yeah.
probably have 4 or 5.
That's fine. So you can add as many as you need to in there. It's just because you're not using GoDaddy, it's not automated. You do have to copy over 2 DNS settings to add those domains into there because you're using Wix.
Okay. This is the part that I need you to send to me so I can have my son help me walk through it.
I'll send you a video right after this, but it's also in the training already. If you go to the
If that video is showing how to connect one domain, but not subdomains, because I'm going to need that.
Okay, so you want to add subdomains. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
again, I'll create you a video for that because again, we have
You're
the
the
explanation in
best.
text, but not.
Okay.
I'll try to get it done this weekend for you. How
Oh,
about
you're
that?
a dear. Can
Okay.
I also
And
say
could I
one thing?
piggyback a question on that too?
Yes.
So I had just set up a WordPress website with and registered a couple of domains. So do I need to keep WordPress active since they were my host for the domain?
So did you buy the domain from WordPress?
I did.
Yeah, so like you can shut down that website or transfer your WordPress completely into Built. I think there is an additional charge for that from WordPress. But You could literally just build a whole new website inbuilt for free, and then just add the two DNS settings in there, and everything from WordPress will transfer over, except for the old website, like the actual
Okay.
real. But your domain will be fine. It'll transfer.
Okay, so do I need to still host that domain through WordPress, or would I want to essentially maybe just
So
cancel
you
with
would
WordPress
turn off your
altogether?
hosting. You would turn off hosting. You just pay the annual per year instead of the monthly hosting.
Okay,
Because like you bought it there, and so whatever 12 14 bucks, whatever they're charging you for your domain, you would still pay for it. Same thing in GoDaddy. It's like whatever. I don't have to use their hosting. And like a lot of people use like HostGator or WPX if they're using WordPress or whatever as an alternative. And like you don't need that for built. It's built in.
cool. So is it possible to register a domain on Built,
So you cannot
or
buy
you still need a
domains.
domain host?
You cannot buy
Okay,
domains with built. You got to use GoDaddy or whatever, right? But you don't have to use the hosting services like HostGator or WPX or whatever, hosting sites there are out there, because built does it for you.
okay.
Yeah. And for you, Effie, are you wanting the subdomains for
Different
your emails
business
or just for your websites?
for different business lines.
Okay,
So
like that, we can create subdomains. It's actually
yeah,
pretty
because
easy.
I'm expecting my database to, the overall database to be relatively large. And, but within each category will be smaller, and some won't even, cross over necessarily, because I'm getting to meet more and more people outside of sub two. So, sorry, she's a toddler.
No, you're fine. I left my kids in Georgia, so I'm not
Yeah.
worried about it.
Well, she's my grandbaby,
Yeah.
I can't, I'm in this freaking cold ass hellhole called Chicago. Sorry if there's anybody in Chicago because of her. So I have to really love her. But anyways, I have to say that, for each different line, because I'll also be adding a lending domain. So there's going to be different aspects of business, and I want it all under REI. And I would like
My
it to still
question
be.
is, why are you creating subdomains and not just creating regular domains for each one? Like differentiate it.
No, they have domain. I mean, they are full domains. It's just that if I'm going to put them through Built, wouldn't I have to have like one domain and then the
Nope.
other ones would be
Nope.
sub?
They'll all be regular domains in there.
So I'd have like,
You can have as
okay,
many domains as you want in Built.
okay. So
I have
then
not
you'd have
seen the limitation.
multiple
I think I have 13.
databases in there, correct? That could be unique to each one.
Yeah, and then you just choose which website or funnel that you want and just link it to it. You can have as many
Okay.
domains as you want.
All right, fantastic. I'm super stoked. It's going to take me a shitload of work, but I'm happy because when it's going to be done, I know I'm going to have a true business instead of just the entities and the money that's coming in from those entities. You
Great.
need that part. So I want to say thank you.
So Effie, are you funding Gator deals right now?
Not at this minute, but I have, and I have outstanding loans, and I do PMLs, and I've done EMDs. Actually, I did 3 EMDs last week, but not as Gator deal. Well, I guess they would be called Gator deals.
So
Anyhow,
this what we're building out right now. Notice this is for Gator deals, but it'll also work for private money, these automations.
oh, good.
Yeah, so once we're actually done with building this out, if you want it, we can, clone it into your particular CRM.
Fantastic. I'll take anything that you've already done because I am not a programmer.
Yeah. But we're gonna need some feedback as well. So
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm gonna
let's
keep.
just say you're about to fund an EMD deal, right? Somebody sends you a deal, you evaluate that deal, you either pass or do it, right?
Yep.
If you pass it, forget about it. If you do the deal, you reach out to them, you do your paperwork, you sign the JV and promissory and whatever, then you send it all to escrow and they do the deed of trust and they do all the extra protection insurance.
Yep.
Now you're just waiting, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
But I will say that if I don't take it on, I usually will comment as to why. And I let the people know this is where you're failing yourself, or this is where we're not a good match. And I still keep them in my database as far as,
Of course.
nurturing future, things change, so, but I'm
Mhm.
very, very excited that I can actually do all of this together and I should be able to not only, this is a guy thing, but I'm visual. I need pictures. So I need pictures in each of them and a link to the Zoom I have had with them. And sometimes I've had, because you and I have Zoomed, I can have multiple Zooms, like, so I want to be able to link to them at any moment instead of keeping them all in the database I have of Zooms. Because I have about
So,
700.
yeah, so what you can do in here, is when you book an appointment or a Zoom call with them, or you
Mhm.
can send them an instantly like calendar link through Built to
Okay.
your Zoom account. And then once they sign that, or they actually fill out the form and actually book in a specific date and time, it'll let you know automatically in the system. And so
Awesome.
like we have that, and we just built that out just a few seconds ago as well for this. So if you see anything that I'm going through and you see anything that should be there, just let me know and we'll try
Okay.
to add it in there.
All
as
right.
well.
I'm going to be quiet and say I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I see we got a few other people in here as well now. Holly. All right, let's save this. So Gators, right? You get all you do the paperwork, you get that paperwork signed, make sure it goes to escrow and they do all their, proper documentation at that point. Once it's in escrow and let's say they close the first part of that transaction or whatever, it goes into pending, right? And this could be at this point in time, it could be an EMD deal, so it's pretty quick. It could be transactional funding, really quick, or it could be longer term, let's say private money, and so it could be 3 to 6 months, a year, 5 years, I don't care, right? Like whatever time frame you want it to be, but like this is where the pending is for. We'll keep a pending section where it says these are all your pending deals. Okay. And when it's finally closed, it'll be closed and it'll be considered at one X amount of dollars, whatever the deal was worth. So we'll keep it in this format right now. And we'll save that. So we have building relationships, which is the very first one. And then we have based on those relationships, we have the Gator deals. Okay. And then if you're a connector, we have building relationships. And then we have, actually connecting. And so let me see this real quick. Attention, analyze situation, meeting booked, pass, deal. I actually don't like how this is. We should probably just keep it two. Very simple, kind of like how the Gators are in all in one. I think that would be better or more logical in a sense. So let's duplicate this. I'll switch this over here so I can see it. Because we had the deals for the connectors. And we said new deal JV agreement signed connecting. Connect the dots. And then this right here we have for the connectors, retention, analyze situation, schedule meeting, pass or deal. So maybe in the deals for connectors, we kind of do something similar where we say new deal and then we'll merge the two. So we'll do analyze deal at this point. Okay. And hopefully I didn't spell something wrong. Analyze deal. And then we'll merge this together. And so we'll put the schedule meeting, if applicable, in here. And then we'll put meeting booked. Because again, we're just merging at this point. I don't want to have too many pipelines for this. And then let's say pass is in here as well. Okay, and then you have your JV agreement. If you sign the JV agreement, then you connect the dots.
Hey, Mo, what does pass mean?
So like you're no longer interested in doing this deal.
Okay, then you want to say, pass at this time or something like that, because pass usually means go to the next step. You have done very well. So
You're right. A lot
there's
of people
some
think it-
redundancy here with this word. If you could clarify, it'd be
Okay.
great.
Okay, let's do that then. So I'll just put not interested right now.
Yeah, yeah, we're not at this
And again,
time,
we can
whatever.
tweak these messages so that when you do put in that pipeline, it sends them a message as to why you're not interested later, but like that's more custom.
That's good. It's just that if somebody saw this in the future and didn't ask that question, they might think
Right,
as
that
stupid as
works.
me. What is he doing?
So again, I build this based off of how I think. So if it doesn't work for everybody, I remember I built the entire CRM, and when the beta testers came in, they're like, Mo, I know you understand how to read this thing, but like I don't know what to do. And it's like we had to like add more information. So I get it. So now that we got this in here, we got the deals for the connectors. And let me just highlight this. And then the deals for gators, we'll do the same thing. Pass, and we'll do not interested as well. So it's easier to read. So this is built out now both for gators and for connectors. Okay. And when I upload this into your guys' system later, of course, if you're not a connector, you just delete it. Like you don't need it, just delete it. And you can only be the gator or vice versa. Or keep them all. All right. Now that this is
Do
built
you
out,
mind just spending 1 second opening up deals connectors and see what's in there?
Yeah.
Thanks. Oh, it's the same.
it's a little bit different because like you'd be scheduling meetings and you won't connect the dots with somebody unless there's a JV agreement at that point.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
Yeah,
Effie, how does a connector get paid?
I don't believe connectors should be paid.
Really?
So that's why I was looking to see how you have it. I've never charged for being a connector, and I've
Neither
put
have
many
I.
people together.
Neither have I, Effie, but you got to think about it. There's so many
No,
avatars.
I'm not saying that some people aren't allowed to or anything. I just said I don't believe that they should. But what I do believe they should do, and what I was looking for in here is the opportunity to actually JV with them. So obviously, if you've got that, that's not bad, but for me, it would be equity only. I would not take money. I want to contribute to something that I think is really good in between two people that I know, not take from it. So, anyways, this is just a philosophical thing, but this database would be like small, but it would be very high return because I wouldn't do that unless the deal was a big deal and it had a lot of meat on there and both of those people wanted me in. So,
So let's just use an example, Effie. Okay.
yeah. Mhm.
If someone came to me, let's just say I was a connector, someone came to me and said, hey, I need private money for this deal. And then I said, I got you. I know exactly who to go to. Right. And I say, okay, I'll be your connector. Let's do a JV agreement. And I connect them to you as a private money lender. Now we're all in it together. But this is how I protected myself with a JV agreement before like connecting them to you and I got cut out.
Protected yourself from what?
So that I'm actually part of the deal. Yeah.
I don't believe it should be forced.
Right.
I
So, yeah.
believe it should be open conversation and I should be invited, I have very high standards for the people that I work around
Yeah.
and with.
And so again, like this is a main concern over a lot of connectors that they aren't getting paid. Again, I don't get paid for as being a connector. Like that's not my go-to.
I understand.
It's not my business model. Neither it's yours, but it is other people's. Okay. And so we're building this out for everybody else, right? And if that's how they want to get paid, then this is how we'll set it up for them. And again, if there's more connectors that are listening to this right now and you want to do it differently, hop on Zoom. Let's talk. Let's figure this out. I'd rather hear more from other connectors that are actually making money during doing that business model because I'm building this off of one person in here with us, John, right now, who's a connector. And, we're building the gator out based off of my logic and let's say Jaden's right now and, others who want to contribute. And so we're building this out as a team, right? And if there's anything we don't like, well, we'll just talk about it, right? So this is created. These are the pipelines, okay? But inside these pipelines, we have multiple steps that they're not going to move on their own, right? Follow-up's not going to have it on its own. The calendar is not going to activate on its own. Like there's a lot of steps that are involved in this. And so all we did was we sat down for a bit and brainstormed of how we want these to operate. Now we actually got to build them out. most people who are not integrators or techie or whatever are going to see this as overwhelming, right? And then those that enjoy this will say this is awesome and this is my favorite thing in the world, right? uh but I'm going to go on my own pace, and again, if anybody has and wants to stop me or wants to give feedback or wants to ask a question, just go ahead and do it. But right now we have the very first step. Okay, I'm going to go in this and slowly build out automations. Now I have multiple screens, so I'm not sure how I'm going to do this because it's easier when there's multiple screens. What I'll do is I'll put in 2 tabs in here.
Hey,
It's
Mo, how
just-
many screens do you work with?
Right now 3 because I'm in Florida, but
Okay.
um, just because of the layout. But I have more screens at my place.
How many do you usually have at home?
4. So
Or,
it's just easier sometimes because, like, for example, Zoom is on one screen.
yeah,
right?
yeah, no, you don't
My
have to
limits
explain.
are already two
When I worked at
screens.
UC Davis, I had 6, so I
Mhm.
understand, and I'm not a tech person, but I had a lot of programs to different
Yeah.
PhD programs to run. So each chair was like, "Yeah, I need a screen for my people." I'm like,
I'll tell you
"Okay."
what the problem is. If I'm sharing a screen like this, it makes it very difficult for you guys to see what I'm doing, right?
Mhm.
Because I can't share multiple screens.
Okay.
And so I'm just gonna have to do it through tabs right now and kind of go with that. All right, so let's do this. Let's look at the build relationships because we're gonna start from the beginning. We're gonna make sure this runs smoothly. So you have a new lead, okay?
Hey Mo, real quick
Yeah.
before you get started, are you going to like upload this into our systems at some point? Because I think you alluded to that. I'm just checking.
Only if you want it.
I got you. I got you. All right, cool.
Yeah. Because I can honestly upload it to everybody, but it's going to make their CRM cluttered. All right. And I'll only give it to the people that actually need it because their CRM already has a lot of acquisition stuff and disposition that they don't probably need. And there's no point of giving it to everybody if they're not going to use it.
I got you. Cool. At least learning how to do it makes sense anyway. So I could build out whatever I want. So I appreciate this. Thank you.
Yeah. So, like, again, the reason I'm doing this is not just to give to the connectors and gators. It's opening your mind as to what can you do with this CRM, right? Because you can do whatever you want with the CRM. You can run an entire business that's not real estate through the CRM. You can run a service. Like, me offering the CRM to you guys is a service, right? Software as a service, but I run it through a sub account in the CRM. And so it allows me to do a lot of things. And so right now we're just building a different service right now inside this. But anyhow, we got now a new lead, right? We have a response. And so let's do this right now inside of automations real quick. And we're going to go one by one. And let me actually switch this to opportunities. And we're going to keep it building relationships right now. And we're going to build this out. And let me actually, because I like to have folders. So let's go back. I'm going to create a folder. And we're going to number it. Let's just start with 10. And then we'll just 4, 0, 1. And we're going to call this building relationships. Basically everything that fires inside the building relationships. And then we're going to create another folder. And we're going to call this 02. And we're going to call this connectors. Okay, or deals. And we're going to call it connectors.
Hey Mo, I was a little slow. Did you go to start from scratch on the template thing?
I actually pulled back from that. So I went back to the beginning. So I went to automations and I hit create folder because I was going to do it, but then I was like, I want to be organized. I want to have folders. So I'm just creating I'm basically doing the same thing, creating all 3 pipelines in folder format in here. And then I'm going to go and actually create the automations. And so to keep myself organized at the end of the day.
Gotcha.
If you're not organized, things will be a mess, and you won't know where anything's at. And so we're labeling everything that we can. And so I'm going to say Gators / PML because it works for both. And so like when this gets uploaded in your system and it's like, oh, I'm not a connector, but I'm a Gator or PML, just delete this folder. We don't even need it. Like you can just delete it. But yeah. So we got the 3 folders. Let's go into building relationships since it's the very first one. And this says new leads. Okay. When we get a new lead in the system, do we not want to reach out to them right away with some sort of message saying, hey, you know, I just reached out or whatever, like, or maybe because you're messaging them on Facebook, at that point in time, you don't have their number or email. So I'll keep this one a manual. Okay. And I'm probably, because of that, I'm going to have to keep the response manual as well. But I do want to tag them so we know what's going on in that particular thing. So we're going to create a workflow and we're going to start from scratch. And we're going to do 2 things. Okay. So number 1, inside here, let's just say, let's name it first. We'll go with new lead. Okay. We'll just name it right there for now. We're also going to say that it's in a specific pipeline. How do we not pipeline changed? Okay, so inside here, when an opportunity is created, we want it to actually trigger something, right? And so if we created an opportunity in there, let's just put it in the pipeline for building relationships for now. And just leave it as that. Well, in the new lead, that's what we needed. So when something comes in and let's say we create an opportunity in here. And we create an opportunity and we don't have any contacts in here. So I'll just put myself. Let's say I created this contact. Let's put an email in there. Right. If you call me, I won't answer unless I have your number saved. And we'll keep it the opportunity name the same name for now. Building relationships, new lead, it's open. You'll assign it to, let's say, yourself. And we'll leave it at that for now. Okay. And so let's say there's a new lead in here. Well, right now, if you click on it, there's not really any details, right? So like there's nothing really for us to edit or add information besides notes. So we'll have to like edit this later. But when there's a new opportunity created in there, well, I want to tag it, right? I want to add a contact tag so I know what's going on. And so maybe I'll name the tag new relationship, right? Or let's say a possible connection or something. So what do we think is a good tag to name someone who you haven't built a relationship with? So think if you're talking here,
Potential client.
I'm sorry,
Potential client.
potential client. Okay. Let's well, I like the potential, right? Client is a little bit more on the sales side. Maybe relationship. Let's keep it very simple at that point. And then we can, because we haven't built a relationship with them, because we're going to say active relationship later as the last tag. I think because that's a good idea. So potential relationship, we'll add that tag in here. We'll save that. And I like to name everything. So potential relation. Hopefully I didn't spell that. We'll save that. And Keep that opportunity created, new lead. We'll save that. So what happens is, like right now, because I created this one, it's not going to get tagged. Because of course this is not active or published, right? But let's say I created another opportunity and I select the contact and I just name this, opportunity name 2. And I hit create. Okay, we can't create duplicate opportunities. Let's go to settings. Just for this purpose, I'll allow duplicate opportunities. Now let's do that again. And the reason why I'm doing this is we want to test and make sure, right? Now I already know that it's going to tag it when I do it, but like for you guys, like you probably want to see how automations work. So now that this one's created, notice mode 2 has a tag right here and it says potential relationship. Okay. So automations is pretty simple. And so now if let's say I went to contacts, of course I'm only going to have one contact in there. And it's going to have that tag potential relationship. Okay. And so let's say I built a relationship with them. I would remove this potential relationship and add the new tag as, relationship built or whatever we choose to go with, active relationship. And so
I would find that useful for like a syndication or doing an investor deal with money for multifamily. You've got to have, like on a 506c offering, you got to have at least 3 contacts with the person before you can. And they've got to be
things for the SEC guidelines.
Yeah. So that would be awesome to have
advanced.
something like that.
That's a little bit more advanced for everyone here. Definitely. But in your case, it does. Like this is how you can keep track of that. So we just got to remember that a lot of people that are probably watching this are not that advanced in real estate. They're probably still wholesaling. They probably haven't gotten to a 506c yet. And so we got to kind of dial it down a bit sometimes for everyone else. Not to say that this does give a valid point for you. You'll be able to know.
I'm still learning too, so I like it simple.
Yeah. All right. So now let's see. Let's go back to our opportunities right here. And let's actually delete this one because I don't really need to have a duplicate right now. And we'll go back to this. So here's where we could do something, right? Technically, we can do whatever we want. Okay. But I'm going to say if, and I'm going to go to contact details and see if they have a phone. So if it's not empty, the phone number, and then let's just add, let's just see, let's just name this. Okay. I think we can leave that. Then we'll add another branch. And we will name this. Okay. Basically, again, same idea. We're going to see if they have a phone number, but we're going to make sure it's empty. Okay. The reason why we're doing this is I want to do something here, right? If there's no phone number, then let it just end, right? If there's no phone number, it's fine. It could just create the tag and be done. But let's say you do have a phone number there. Maybe the only way you have a phone number is if you reached out to them on Facebook, let's say, or a group or wherever, a meetup, and you already had a conversation with them. So you got that phone number at that time. And if you have that phone number, well, then maybe you want to send them an SMS afterwards, right? Whether it's later at night, the next day, the day after, it doesn't matter. And it could be something that says, you know, hey, whatever your name is. And so we'll take that context name, their first name. This is, and then whoever your name is, right? And so we'll go back and see the user and take your full name probably. Just wanted to make sure you have my phone number, right? Glad we were able to connect, right? Let's just use that for now. Now, again, going back to here, if we get a response, we don't really need to schedule a meeting if we met them in person or talked already. And so it kind of like skip them to, you know, hell, you probably even vet them if, you know, predetermined, because of the fact that, you know, you already talked to them in, you know, at an event, or maybe you already hopped on a Facebook call with them, or a Zoom you met them at, or whatever. And so at this point in time, this is just, you know, thanking them, or, you know, having some sort of glad we met scenario. And it kind of like triggers that you have that new lead. But at the same time, if you don't have their phone number, it won't do anything, right? And you're now waiting to schedule some sort of meeting with them. So there's two scenarios here. Okay, so we want it to work for both. So hey, this is whatever. Just wanted to make sure you have my phone number. Glad we were able to connect. And done. Right, we'll save that for now. Okay. Again, we can modify these templates and do what we need to do later. But for now, I'm just gonna do this. All right, glad we could connect. Or we connected. Okay, it's only if the phone number is available. Now, if you don't want this, you know, we can talk about it, you know, as well. Maybe we don't want this, or maybe if, let's say you get this in your system later, and you're like, well, I'm just uploading all my contacts from my phone. Well, maybe that's not going to work for me. And so maybe you want to
Quick
turn that off.
question, Mo.
Yes.
So, are you by chance going to be making like sort of an app that might, like, if you are at a network event and you're live with people and you are getting phone numbers, is there a way we can implement that on, like, say, an app, and it puts it into the CRM from there? Maybe just a contact form or something.
I mean, you can do a contact form. Absolutely, you can. Like, you would just have it open and they just put their details in. But like, I see what you're talking. An app would have like a QR code, right? And they would scan that QR code, and that information would automatically populate into your phone or whatever app you're using. And then maybe through APIs, we could have it transfer into the CRM. Like, we could do that if you're using some third-party app. Now, for us right now, are you familiar with what's the right term? You know, on Instagram, they use those link trees,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you can build a custom link tree in here. Like, just build it out. Again, just, you don't even probably need a domain for that, or maybe just you do want to put it through your domain. That's up to you. And then you would have a form for them to fill out, which would go into your CRM as a new lead. Like, you could do that.
Okay.
And so I'll show you an example.
Kind of a funnel.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's just like, oh, your name is, you know, maybe what's your company, what type of person are you, avatar, are you a buyer, investor, you know, private money lender, gator, whatever. It's like a drop down. And then they would fill that out. But again, that's not a QR code, right? So it's not the same. It's not as fun as Blink, you know, out there. Right? It's not the same.
Right.
As far as will we do that something now, sometime in the future? Probably, right? Like, to make things more easier for everybody, we probably will. Or hell, I might buy a company and add it to built. Like, I don't know. If anybody's selling a company that does that kind of system already, let me know. you know,
All right.
I'll probably buy it, but it's got to be, you know, something that, again, like we can add so many things to this CRM, right? Because the possibilities of APIs is unlimited, right? It just gets down to, well, does everybody want it, right? At that point in time. And so right now I have somebody that uses Blink, and they're on the service side, and they're, you know, building relationships, and they use Blink all the time. All he does is every single week he'll, you know, download his Blink through CSV and upload it into the system as a CSV, right? It's like that's his solution right now. We tried doing APIs to do that through like Zapier. I think you need like the premium account of Blink, and it's like, well, now at this point, like now I have to pay more on someone else's service like Blink, and in order to make this API stuff work, it's like, is it worth it at that point?
Gotcha.
So it wasn't for him, but whatever. So we didn't actually do the APIs. Instead, he just does CSV files. But
So that's why you would want it to not have duplicate files for contacts. So you could basically re-upload the CSV and it wouldn't duplicate
yeah,
the contact.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
You don't
That
want
makes
to have
sense.
duplicate contacts in the system. You can have duplicate opportunities if you choose to, but again, most of the time, you don't want to have that either. You know, because that opportunity is based on the contact. In the case of a relationship where you have multiple deals from one contact, you do want to have the opportunity, duplicate opportunity on. Okay. In the case of duplicate contacts, you can turn that on, but I don't ever see a need for having a duplicate contact, like ever, in the system. I haven't thought of anything as to why we have that button to begin with in there. But yeah. As far as this right here, are we okay with this system right now? Where if there's a phone number, we send them a glad we connected. If there's no phone number, it just tags it at that point. And it's our job to schedule a meeting with them, because at that point we didn't even have a meeting with them yet.
Yeah, I think definitely great to have a glad we connected. Put you front of mind.
Okay. All right. So we have a new lead. If, let's say, because we're going to vet them, and then there's an active relationship. So if you already connected here, right, and you had their phone number and you already connected, do we want to skip the meeting booked in the schedule meeting section and the vetting, because you probably already vetted them at that point, to put them in the active relationship if you have their phone number? Or do we still want them to be sent to the vet relationship at that point when they respond?
It should have the flexibility to do both. So,
Okay.
you know, I would leave those in. If you don't use them, it, you know, but if you decide you want to, it'd be a pain to have to figure it out then.
Yeah. So right now, if they respond to this message right here, they'll be in the response section. But at that point, I think we already have them as an active relationship if you have their phone number. Maybe not the case. Maybe not the case. So maybe we'll put it in response. If they respond to your message, at that point in time, we can determine manually if we want to throw them into an active relationship, or we can schedule a meeting and book have that meeting booked. So we'll leave this one as is. We'll save that. And then what we'll do now is we'll create a new one. And we're going to call this response if they respond to that one. And so a new lead is automatically kind of like an attention. And then the response is another attention, right? In this case. So let's do this, and we'll say response. Okay. The trigger for this response is going to be them replying. So if we do customer replied to, let's say, that message, okay, replied to workflow, and that workflows is the new lead one, right? And we're going to do additional. Nah, I don't care if it's positive. It probably is going to be positive to begin with. Let's say they replied to this new lead. And I'm going to actually name this one new lead. Okay. When they do reply at that point in time, now we probably need to have some sort of internal notification. Okay. And we'll just keep it as a notification for now. And say new lead replied. And we can put their name. Well. And we can put their name. Okay. Again, we can tweak this and do whatever we need right now. To the users, let's just do all for now. Redirect to the opportunity. Internal notification. New lead replied. Okay, that's one. Also, we want to maybe assign ourselves a task, right? Because just because they're a new lead in the system, maybe in that task you need to determine whether they're already an active relationship, right? Or this is where I want to do both. Maybe the other trigger could be, because we can do multiple triggers in here. You know, it doesn't have to be just they replied.
I'm guessing you have a way to set a trigger based on a response. Like if they have a yes or no or maybe kind of a question, that it gives a response based on the
remember,
answer
the
they
only
give.
time we're sending somebody a message is if we already have their phone number. In this case, because most of the time we reach
Okay.
out to them on Facebook or Instagram. And so at that point in time, we still put the lead in as their name to keep ourselves organized, but we don't necessarily have their phone number. And so the response section is only if we sent them a message. And so I think at this point, I'm actually not going to add another trigger.
Could you give a couple of examples of triggers?
Yeah, so if a customer replies to, let's say, the previous workflow, that's a trigger.
Mhm.
If, let's say, you manually move something along the pipeline, that is considered a trigger. If someone fills in a form, that is a trigger. And notice if I click on add trigger, there's everything in here is a trigger. There's so many. It's like there's so many things to trigger a output of something. So if someone paid for something or filled in an order form, that is a trigger. And if someone signed up for, let's say, a course, you can do a trigger. If someone, this is what we're going to do later, but if someone schedules an appointment on your calendar, that is going to give a trigger. And we're going to do that in a few minutes. There's a lot of stuff, especially when it comes to like APIs and webhooks. Like,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
yeah, there's so much. Okay, so at this point, I want to create a task, right? And this task, I think it needs to be process lead, right? I'm just going to say the same thing, process lead. I'm going to put their name. I'm also going to say determine if they are an active relationship or not. Okay.
Could you have that as a something you could just pick up from a Dropbox?
What's that?
Determining if they are in an active relationship or not. Could you pick up that option from a Dropbox?
So that Dropbox were mainly used in like forms, and you can create that in the actual contact and inside of, let's say, the opportunity.
Mhm.
we're not at that stage yet. We're giving a task to ourselves, and then we can actually choose that later.
Thank you.
Yeah. The right now we're basically telling ourselves what to do at this point. Okay, because again, if let's say you have a VA working on this, you want them to be able to, handle this situation. I'm all about building something that someone else can use ultimately, because I don't want like doing things, right? And so I have other people do stuff for me, and the faster I can set this up in a way where someone else can do it, that means I don't have to work on it later and tweak things.
Thank you.
Because VAs cost like 500 to $1,000 a month, and that tremendously increases your business flow automatically. To determine if they're an active relationship or not. If not, schedule an appointment or schedule a meeting. We'll just say that meeting/call, and we'll keep that like that. Assign to context assign user, do in now. Okay. All right. So let's say I replied to this, right? And then right now there's no message. Let me actually put it through the workflow. Actually, we're not going to be able to test SMS on this account. Hold on. Because I just set up this account and we got to wait for HTTP. What we can do instead of that for testing purposes, make sure everything kind of goes through. We'll just test it through email. And so, and we'll do email. And we'll do it like that. Okay. All right, so apparently so when you're testing, guys, make sure you allow re-entries in here, because if you try to do it once or twice, you'll notice that it won't actually go through. So when you're testing, you can allow multiple tries, but let's test this out. Make sure that I'm getting at least an email. Get. Oh yeah. All right, there we go. So we were added to the workflow, we got our tag, and the if function was active. Because I have a phone number in there, of course it executed. Now, you'll see the SMS probably did not send. So we'll actually go to this contact the SMS did not send because of the fact that we're not compliant yet on this account. We just set it up today. Like this one didn't send, but we got the email at least. Okay, so we know it at least works. Okay. And if the email works, if you're compliant with SMS, you'll at least get the SMS too. That was the reason. And what happened here? Oh, that's because of my staff member. We're probably gonna have to end this the next couple of minutes as well. We'll probably continue. When do you guys want to do this? Do you guys want to do this like Monday or Tuesday or this weekend or something? Let me know what you guys want to do, and we'll try to schedule it. I don't want to wait till next Friday to do this. I'll try to get this done as soon as possible.
Personally, I'm open tomorrow or sometime Monday or Tuesday. Probably could work.
Okay. All right, looks like we still gotta fix some things, but either way. Sunday afternoon best, followed by Monday or Tuesday afternoon. Saturday, Sunday is best for me, anytime. Okay. So it looks like mainly the afternoons are better for most people. So we'll try to do it then, and weekends. Okay, and then we got Monday. I'll figure out a time. Okay, I'll also put it in the group, respond there as well, and we'll try to pick a date and time that works for everybody. I might do like a poll or whatever. But I appreciate you guys for being here. We'll continue where we left off to make sure that we finish all the automations on this. And if we need to be here for 8 hours on a live to finish this, that's what we'll do. You know, I know Pace is really good with this. What is it? He's done an 18-hour live before, I think. I don't know if I can do that, but with practice, we can always get there. So we'll do what we need to do. I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thanks, Mo.
If you think somebody can learn something by watching this or attending this, bring them to the recording and have them attend the next live. Okay.
Where do we find the recordings, Mo?
The recordings are going to be in the Facebook group built. And then yeah, the lives will be in there too.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.